it's Doris with All the Books, and today I want to talk about the nonfiction books that I read in January, at least the ones dealing with my theme for the month, which was books from or about Japan or Korea. So I ended up reading 5 nonfiction books that fit that category, and one reason I really like to read like this once in a while is because I love making connections. And I love the way stories and texts can just bounce off each other and give you more insight. You get more insight from reading from different perspectives and different stories. And this month I did do it on purpose in that I specifically hoarded books from Japan and Korea. But I didn't set out to get a well-rounded collection, but somehow I serendipitously did. These were fabulous reads. I am just so happy that I read these. So let me just jump right in. The first one, which I haven't quite finished, but I wanted to include it in this stack, is Showa, A History of Japan by Shigeru Mizuki. This is a manga. This is the first in a series, and I will definitely be getting the other 3 as I'm able. They're quite large and rather expensive. I found this one luckily on Thrift Books for a great price at used, but I'll probably have to buy the remainder new. This one is the first from 1926 to 1939. So it's actually written in dual perspectives-ish. One of them is kind of a Japanese history textbook perspective. So it's just strictly a historical look at that period in time. The other half is a memoir from Shigeru Mizuki himself. And it starts from his early childhood in here, and I love the idea of reading textbooks from other countries, so this was right up my alley. And my favorite style of graphic novels is ones where they're realistic frames paired with cartoonish frames, or even realistic scenes with cartoon characters superimposed on them. I just love that. So this was exactly it. So you got a lot of realism and a lot of cartoonism and even different styles of cartoons, and it's just very, very enlightening. Oh, here's a great one. Yeah. Highly recommend this. I don't really read a lot of graphic novels except for graphic novels with a historical bent, which I adore. The next one I picked up was The Chrysanthemum and the Sword. Well, this is the first one I finished, actually. I haven't finished the other. This is by Ruth Benedict, and it is Patterns in Japanese Culture. This was actually published in, I believe it was 1946. Maybe 1945, but yeah, 46. But it doesn't read as a dated text because it's a cultural look. So it's looking at the Japanese people in a specific snapshot in time. This was actually, I believe, commissioned by the US government during the war as part of the war effort. And it's very, very fascinating. I was tuned in on this one when I read The Devil in Nanking, which is a historical fiction / thriller novel set in the rape of Nanking, which I will get to, but it recommended this, and I highly recommend this book if you are planning on doing a lot of Japanese literature reading, because it really gives you insight into a completely different mindset, and it kind of tunes you into that idea that we I guess from a European perspective, North American perspective, a white perspective, see our morals and lifestyles as this is the way and everybody thinks this way, and some people just don't have morals. Whereas this really sheds the light on different pockets of people's have different perspectives on society. It's a really, really great read. Really enlightening. And then I read The Rape of Nanking by Iris Chang. This is horrible. Not the book itself. It's very well written and researched, but the event itself, the forgotten Holocaust of World War II, is really horrible. Really, really horrible. Black period of time. Just the things that were done in the name of war and conquest, and wow. Oh, and this is, I got this used and somebody left a newsprint in it. I think that's neat. But yeah, I just Google The Rape of Nanking and see if you want to read that. It's really well written, but like I said, this one was very unexpected for me. Midnight in Broad Daylight, a Japanese-American family caught between two worlds by Pamela Rotner Sakamoto. This, I assumed that it was going to be about the Japanese internment camps in the U.S. during World War II, which it was a little bit, but that was not the focus of the book. I have to admit, going into this, after reading these other ones, I was feeling kind of worn out with the war effort and the trauma. It was a bit much, especially The Rape of Nanking. But this was just a pleasant surprise. It was difficult at times, but it was so overarching and just provided so much insight, because this woman, and this is another case of someone seeing a period in time that needs to be memorialized before it is escaped. So she just almost lucked into this situation where she interviewed members of this family. So it starts in California and Oregon, Washington, that area of the country, before the Great Depression, and looks at the Japanese population in the States at that period of time and their success, and how the Depression affected them. And this family, the parents were born in Japan and moved to the United States, but all of their children were born in the States. They ended up all eventually going back to Japan during the Great Depression because they just couldn't afford to stay here, especially with the antagonism from you know, the war issues going on and developing. But then the one son, the middle son, and the daughter, there are 5 children all total, but the one son and the daughter end up coming back to the U.S. before the war starts. And so you get to see this play out, how, because they have all of these letters and newspaper articles, and she got to interview these brothers before they passed away around 2015. So it was just awesome that she got to record this before they passed away, because it's just invaluable. But yeah, this was great. So you get to see both sides of the story play out, and you get to see this one, you are just banged over the head with the indoctrination by the Japanese government, and it's just harsh. This one, you see people actually fighting against that thought process. So this was really a really good book to add to the mix. And then lastly, I have Hitching Rides with Buddha by Will Ferguson. This is written by a Canadian author who lived in Japan for about 5 years, teaching English there. And then just before he decided to leave, he hitchhikes from the southern tip of Japan all the way to the northern tip of Japan. And he hitchhiked so he could get to know and spend time with people, like the average people that he ran across in his travels. And this book was absolutely delightful. I loved it. The original name was something about hitching the Hokkaido Highway. Yeah, that word. But I guess they changed the title because it was difficult for people like me. But this guy, he's awesome. So he's lived there for 5 years. He's obviously the type of person that enjoys other cultures and appreciates them. So it's written very gently, but he is one of those people that just can carry a conversation. You hang on his every word. You know the ones, you're in the teacher's lounge or the conference room and somebody's telling stories and he can just tell one after the other. It's like my brother-in-law. And you hang on every story because he's just a natural storyteller. So he's a natural storyteller and he can write it down. So double bonus. There's a lot of funny little clips and there's just, it's very interesting as far as learning the country and the peoples. And then I just found myself on page 136 out of the blue tearing up because he wrote this story about meeting a man that was in World War II, and it was just beautiful. So highly recommend this one. Highly recommend this one as well. All of these were just great. So I really recommend reading books in clusters like this because it's just really awesome. And let me get a little thumbnail for, you know, my video. And thanks so much for watching, and I will be back soon. Bye.